and welcome to another Fight of the Night review. Before I actually do start with that, I want to say thank you to everyone who watched my last show in WWE 2K19 War of Attrition last night. Can't wait to get that up on YouTube after it's been edited by my good friend Fen. God, it was a fucking incredible show. Anyway, yeah, got into the fight here. It was the main event of the prelims. It was between Dwight Grant and Sergey Khandozhko, and yeah, it was at the UFC Apex Center, with the main event of which was Jessica Andrade versus Amanda Lemos, so there we go. But we're talking about the main event of the prelims, not the main event of the actual main card, so let's get to it. It won't take that long either, because it ended and finished, so let's go. Well, the fight starts and both men are very much sort of filling each other out. However, I was quite surprised that Dwight Grant went a bit more aggressive at the start. From what little I've seen of him, he is usually a bit more respectful. For example, he usually goes to touch gloves. He didn't really do that in this fight, and he came out a little bit more aggressive than people are used to seeing him do. And he was doing some really good jabs and such, and he did land some pretty good shots. Sergey was landing some good leg kicks, but he was mostly just trying to counter Dwight for the most part. And eventually he does land a hell of a hook combo that does knock Dwight down. This isn't the finish of the fight, by the way, it ends in round 2. Thought I'd get that out of the way really quick. Yeah, he manages to capitalize really well. He hits Dwight pretty hard, knocks him down. And Dwight recovers well. He manages to keep his composure, and he does get up pretty quickly. I think, like, from what I remember, Sergey does not spend a lot of time on the ground with Dwight, and Dwight is easily able to get back up from it. As the round goes, after that, it becomes kind of more of a scrap. They're both getting close. They're both, like, as it's called, phone box fighting. Basically, they're just staying really close to each other, laying some really good combos. They are mostly headhunting, though. They haven't really gone for many leg kicks or really many body shots. I think Sergey landed the biggest body shot of the fight in round 1 at some point. But for the most part, yeah, not really much going on to this bit or the leggy bit, mostly just to the facey bit. And they were both landing quite well as well. And for a lot of this fight, Dwight was looking for a really good overhand right, and he eventually does land it near the end of round 1. And with about a minute left, he does clock Sergey pretty hard, even with like all the pretty heavy shots they were both landing in the time between, and Dwight kept going for the right. He manages to land it pretty successfully near the end, and he knocks Sergey down. Sergey, much like Dwight earlier, he was able to keep his composure, even managed to hold Dwight down and sort of like keep him on him until I think the ref separated them at some point, but the round was over not long after that anyway. So, round 1, pretty exciting, honestly. It's very difficult to call which way it goes to, because Sergey got a takedown near the end of round 1, and he got the first big knockdown of the fight, but Dwight's one was pretty good as well, and Dwight was a bit more active on the feet. But judging by damage done near the end, Dwight did look a bit worse off. Like, his left eye was almost completely closed over, and it almost looked like it was in a different location in comparison to his right eye. So, tough as it is, I think round 1 does go to Sergey, mostly for the takedown near the end, but all in all it was just a very exciting round, and the only full round we'll get of this entire fight. Then go to round 2, and both men are filling each other out a little bit more. They're not being as aggressive in this case, which makes sense because they were both knocked down pretty freaking heftily in round 1. And again, they're mostly just headhunting. Dwight does get another pretty big knockdown. He manages to land a really good solid counter straight right as Sergey goes for a leg kick. But yeah, Dwight's counter on it is really good. Doesn't capitalize on it really. It doesn't really get a chance to. Sergey recovers pretty quick. And between this and like the actual finish of the fight, there's not really a lot going on. Like Dwight is trying to wing for that big overhand right that got him success near the end of round 1. They're both sort of like mostly trying to headhunt. They're both throwing a bit more feints. Dwight's throwing more feints, but Sergey's not really falling for them. He's throwing some good ones of his own. Dwight is landing some really good hook combos off the counter, though, which I think is important to note. And the commentary team even points out that they're both really just headhunting. They're not really going for the body a lot. And even as Sergey tries to close in on Dwight, there's not really a lot happening. He doesn't really go for many leg kicks, neither does Dwight. Neither of them really go for more body stuff. And they do get some really good like punches off at each other. There's even a really good overhand right that Dwight lands near the start of round 2. Not the one that he knocked him down with. I think it was one a little bit before that, which was blocked quite nicely, but you could still hear the sound of it. But yeah, there's not really a great deal that happens except for a few good counters here and there. However, the commentary team really starts to highlight the fact that neither man have really gone for a lot of body shots, so Sergey, I think he can sort of hear them. He's like, alright, I'll do some body shots. And he lands a couple, and Dwight starts to back up a little bit, and he starts going up to the head. Then he lands a beautiful left body shot, right body shot, then an overhand left, and knocks down Dwight. And Dwight tries to recover, but he's a bit slippery, and he's a little bit out of it, and he's been taking some pretty big shots up until that point from prior combos. And yeah, Sergey lands some really good shots while standing on the feet, and the ref steps in to stop the fight, and Sergey wins by TKO near the end of the second. So let's try and wrap this up. All in all, I felt like this was a very entertaining fight. I felt like it was a very good fight. Both men really landed some pretty good stuff. Round one was a lot more entertaining, I will admit. There was just more combos going on in the time between. There was fewer dips in action. Round two did not really have that benefit. It was a little bit slower in terms of the pacing, except for the big shot that Dwight landed with the counter right. There wasn't really a lot else besides that. Like, he was threatening with some pretty big hits after that, and Sergey did get clipped a fair few times, but when Sergey started putting his shit together, it was basically over for Dwight. And I won't lie, another thing that does sort of detract from it for me personally is the lack of a crowd inside the Apex Center. I know, like, the reason why, I just don't agree with it. I know, that's just my sense on it. But still, this is a pretty entertaining fight. I don't know if it will be in my top 10 or not. Time will have to, time will tell. Time will give me the answer eventually, I'm hoping. But it was a very fun fight, and Sergey and Dwight both looked really, really good. I do think that they both needed to fight more intelligently because, again, there was a lot of headhunting, and while I do like a good stand-up scrap and some really good headhunting, it was more entertaining in round one, and round two, up until the finish, was mostly kind of meh for the most part, but it was still very fun, and I recommend you check the fight out for yourselves. Now we go to the outro. That's what's next for me. Well, nothing until Thursday, because I will hopefully have enough albums reviewed by then to do another episode of Music of the Week from this past Friday. But Friday night, pretty important, because I'm doing the full official draft for 2K22. Which superstar is going to go where, which tag teams are going to go where, and it's going to be quite a tricky one as well, because about half the champions I have right now are still in 2K22, and half the ones, and the other half are not, and most of those are tag champs, which is a pain in the arse. Like, none of the tag champions going into 2K22 have their belts, and for context, those tag champions would be, for PBW, Culture Inc., who won it at War of Attrition, which I'm really glad for. I like Culture Inc. They're not in 2K22. For AVW, you got the London Slashers, which is good, but I've only got one half of them, so I can't really make them tag team champions just by themselves. And finally, for the women, the Grey Hats won at War of Attrition as well. They won the titles from... hang on. The Wild Ones, there we go. I managed to find them eventually, and yeah, it's going to be a bit tricky, but I will find ways around it. I have a good, reliable booking council, and basically that's it for the foreseeable future. Obviously, the next episode of Backtracking is going to be 6 albums long, so I won't be doing as much work on that. Well, I'll be doing work on it, but it won't be out super quick. It'll probably be out by middle of May at some point. And then the finale after that. Weird to think. Anyway, that's for then. As for now, I hope you enjoyed this. Go and find this fight for yourself. It was pretty damn entertaining, and as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.